Let us execute an immediate, sweeping, analytical vector shift away from contemporary high-density residential surveillance loops, weaponized peephole proximity traps, and the hallway isolation matrices of modern urban complexes, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of suburban border encroachment, weaponized welcome wagon protocols, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an established homeowner asset running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, deception-slicked perimeters of a manicured residential cul-de-sac, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of an intense, trust-shattering property integration war with the new Neighbour, the exceptional, pulse-pounding psychological thriller masterpiece and explosive milestone installment engineered for the absolute undisputed sovereign of slow-burn domestic subversion, claustrophobic community tension, and high-velocity relational sabotage, Valerie Keogh. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, deeply private primary female asset running an unyielding safety loop, a calculating, psychopathic incoming neighbor asset running an elite proximity tracking and lifestyle infiltration routine, and an absolute defense against a terrifying multi-layered neighborhood gaslighting grid collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological thrillers where an endangered, hyper-observant protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged community property lines, corrupt suburban reputation dynamics, and a deadly ring of active personal frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised domestic ecosystem where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated property fence boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset who uses a flawless social algorithm to systematically steal her life, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, peaceful homeowner's perfect sanctuary is targeted by a charming newcomer moving in next door, who slowly mimics her style, infiltrates her friendships, and hides a lethal vengeance agenda diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Keogh completely dominates the high-precision suburban mimicry meets suffocating boundary violation perimeters dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like Gillian Flynn, Frida McFadden, Lisa Jewell, and Sally Hepworth, while treating realistic legal property disputes, complex neighborhood alliance shifts, and protective high-density psychological extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of strict personal privacy codes, intensive emotional isolation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within a master manipulator's localized database. Behind our protagonist's rigorous property maintenance footprints, defensive home counter-surveillance logs, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden structural vulnerabilities, deeply buried personal history leverage, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following a hard-earned lifestyle stabilization, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by parsing complex behavioral shifts from her local social circle, monitoring a deeply suspicious sudden adjacent property suitor node, and shielding her vulnerable sanctuary from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. A smooth, impeccably polished female asset infiltrates the adjacent residential lot, initializing contact via a strategic charm campaign designed to secure total compliance from the neighborhood watch and a complete erasure of our protagonist's personal space. Behind this helpful newcomer's flawless civilian facade and elite behavioral mapping style lies an intricate matrix of psychopathic envy, severe identity theft blueprints, and a cold, calculation-heavy target liquidation directive. As the hostile adversarial execution phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a ticking clock timeline, the operational metrics cross-reference a terrifying reality. This charismatic interloper isn't just seeking a friendly suburban coexistence, she is systematically running a total lifestyle stripping loop designed to claim our protagonist's reputation, relationships, and literal survival files. The standard boundaries of routine neighborhood courtesy and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. She is thrust directly into an active, invisible war, where a highly manipulative chameleon asset launches aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress her survival data stream and execute her complete systemic erasure. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the large suburban backyards, quiet local community centers, and private fortified residential rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw emotional stamina to preserve her focus before her adversary's relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries.
The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, determined to deploy deep digital extortion loops, continuous psychological gaslighting, and persistent dominance to shatter her defense, only to realize that when a homeowner asset's ultimate line is crossed, her hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical step for step. Every midnight archival excavation of hidden background registries, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching adversary behind standard architectural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Valerie Keogh reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial community fracture or managing an invasive newcomer introduction. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and psychopathic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fierce, deeply protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their shared property line, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated secrets from her past timeline have tracked her to her final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient protagonist must unyield an absolute defense of her final boundary lines. It is a psychological thriller, suburban infiltration noir, neighbor coup mystery, and high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one uncovered identity alias triggers a fatal suburban garden showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Keogh writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, freshly apt suburban lawns, damp garden soil, cold fence iron, dark adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary installment marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The new Neighbor is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the